Commander Sarah Chen stood before the massive holographic display showing Earth's final orbital defense grid. Red warning lights bathed the command center as alien ships filled the space around humanity's home world. The Galactic Council had made their decision 3 days ago. Humanity was to be eliminated. "Ma'am, incoming transmission from the Zephyrian flagship," reported Lieutenant Torres, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. Sarah nodded grimly. She had been expecting this call. The aliens wanted to gloat before they finished what they started. "Put it through." The hologram flickered, revealing the insectoid features of High Commander Zakth. His multiple eyes gleamed with satisfaction as his mandibles clicked in what passed for a smile among his species. "Human Commander Chen." Zakth spoke through the universal translator, his voice carrying the arrogance of absolute victory. "Your species' time has ended. The Galactic Council has voted unanimously. Humanity is too dangerous to exist." Sarah kept her expression neutral, though inside she felt a cold rage building. "Dangerous? We've only been in space for 200 years. What could we possibly have done to threaten a 1,000-year-old galactic civilization?" The alien's laugh was like grinding metal. "Your species learns too quickly. You adapt too fast. In just 2 centuries, you've developed technology that took us millennia to create. Your military tactics are unpredictable. Your scientists make breakthroughs that should be impossible." Behind Sarah, her bridge crew continued their work with grim determination. They all knew this was likely their final hour, but they maintained their posts with the discipline that had made humanity respected and feared among the stars. "We offered you partnership," Sarah said, her voice hard. "We shared our medical advances. We helped you fight the Void Plague. We saved 3 billion Minthari lives when their sun went supernova." "Yes, and that is precisely why you must die," Zakth replied. "You make us look weak. Your generosity makes our selfishness obvious. Your courage makes our caution appear cowardly." The younger species looked to humanity as an example of what they could become, instead of accepting their place in our established order. The truth hit Sarah like a physical blow. This wasn't about humanity being dangerous to galactic peace. This was about humanity being dangerous to the status quo. The old powers couldn't maintain their control when a young, dynamic species showed everyone what was possible. "You're afraid?" Sarah said quietly. "You're not destroying us because we're evil. You're destroying us because we're better than you." Zakth's mandibles spread wider. "Think what you wish in your final moments. The result remains the same. Your world burns today and your species dies with it." The transmission cut off, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Sarah looked around at her crew. These were humanity's finest, gathered from every nation and colony. They represented the best of what their species could be, and in a few hours they would all be dead. "Ma'am," called Chief Science Officer Dr. Kim from her station, "the quantum beacon is ready." Sarah turned to the elderly physicist. Dr. Kim had been working on the quantum beacon project for decades, hoping to establish instant communication across galactic distances. It was humanity's answer to the alien subspace networks that took years to carry messages between star systems. "How long will the message take to reach all inhabited systems?" Sarah asked. "With our current power levels, we can punch through to every major civilization in the galaxy simultaneously. The message will arrive instantly regardless of distance." Sarah nodded slowly. The aliens thought they were destroying humanity to send a message to the younger species. They wanted to show what happened to those who challenged the established order. But humanity would send their own message first. "Records Department," Sarah called out. "Status on the historical compilation?" Commander Williams looked up from his station. "Complete, ma'am. Every major event in human history, every scientific breakthrough, every act of courage and kindness. The entire story of our species, compressed into a data package that any civilization can understand." "Good. Include the medical databases, the technological specifications, and the military tactical analyses. If we're going to die today, at least our knowledge will survive." The bridge shuddered as the first alien weapons struck the outer defensive satellites. Through the viewports, Sarah could see explosions blooming like deadly flowers against the star field. The orbital platforms were putting up a fierce fight, but they were outnumbered 1,000 to 1. "Dr. Kim, begin final preparations for transmission," Sarah ordered. "I want every alien civilization in the galaxy to receive our message at the exact moment Earth falls. The power requirements will drain our remaining shields." Dr. Kim warned. "We're dead either way," Sarah replied. "At least this way our death will have meaning." The command center fell silent except for the hum of machinery and the distant rumble of weapons fire. Each crew member focused on their final task, knowing they were part of something larger than themselves. Sarah walked to the communications console and activated the recording system. This would be humanity's last words to the galaxy, and they needed to be perfect. She thought about everything her species had accomplished, all the dreams they would never fulfill, and all the young civilizations who might one day face the same choice humanity faced now. "This is Commander Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force," she began, her voice clear and strong. "To all the young civilizations listening to this message, know that humanity faced the same choice you will face. Stand up and risk everything, or bow down and accept your place as servants to those who came before." Outside, the alien fleet continued its methodical destruction of Earth's defenses. The orbital stations exploded one by one, their crews dying at their posts. But in the command center, something more powerful than any weapon was being prepared. The quantum beacon hummed with barely contained energy, ready to carry humanity's final message to every corner of the galaxy. Sarah continued recording, pouring everything she felt into words that would outlive her species. "We chose to stand," she said, "and for that choice we die today. But our death is not your fate. Learn from our example. Grow stronger. And when your time comes, remember that some things are worth fighting for, even if the fight cannot be won." The first alien ships broke through the inner defensive perimeter, their weapons charging for the final strike against Earth itself. The quantum beacon's energy readings climbed toward critical levels as Dr. Kim made final adjustments to the transmission array. Through the reinforced windows of the command center, Sarah could see the alien fleet forming attack formations above Earth's major population centers. The sight made her stomach clench, but she forced herself to remain focused on the task at hand. "Ma'am, we're receiving surrender offers from several Earth colonies," reported Communications Officer Patel. "The aliens are promising to spare any human settlement that submits immediately." Sarah's jaw tightened. "Response?" "The Mars colonies told them to go to hell. Luna Base said they'd rather die free than live as slaves. The asteroid miners are rigging their facilities to explode if boarded." Despite everything, Sarah felt a surge of pride. Humanity had spread across the solar system in just 2 centuries, and every settlement was choosing death over submission. It was exactly the kind of stubborn courage that had made the aliens fear them in the first place. "Commander Chen," called Tactical Officer Rodriguez from his station, "I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from the alien fleet. They're powering up something massive." Sarah moved to the tactical display. The alien formation had reorganized into a perfect sphere around Earth, with each ship pointing inward toward the planet's surface. Energy readings showed they were charging weapons far beyond anything they had used in previous battles. "They're not planning to invade," Sarah realized with growing horror. "They're going to sterilize the entire planet." Dr. Kim looked up from her console, her face pale. "If they use planet crackers, there won't be anything left. No cities to occupy, no resources to claim, no humans to enslave, just molten rock floating in space." The magnitude of the aliens' hatred became clear. They weren't just eliminating humanity as a threat. They were erasing every trace that humans had ever existed. Future civilizations would find nothing but a dead system, with no record of what had been destroyed there. "How long until the beacon is ready?" Sarah asked urgently. 15 minutes for full charge," Dr. Kim replied. "But the aliens will finish charging their weapons in 10. Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, calculating their options. They could fire the beacon now with reduced power, reaching maybe half the galaxy's civilizations. Or they could wait for full power and risk being destroyed before the transmission completed. "Ma'am," interrupted Lieutenant Torres, "incoming priority transmission from Admiral Harrison on the lunar base." The holographic display activated, showing the weathered face of Admiral Marcus Harrison. Behind him, Sarah could see the lunar command center in chaos, with officers running between stations and emergency lights flashing. "Sarah, we've got a problem," Harrison said without preamble. "Our intelligence network just confirmed something terrible. This isn't an isolated attack. The Galactic Council has marked 14 other species for elimination." Sarah's blood ran cold. 14? All young civilizations that have shown rapid development in the last few centuries. The Karani explorers, the Vorth engineers, the peaceful melody singers. Anyone who might inspire other species to reach beyond their assigned roles in the galactic hierarchy. The true scope of the aliens' plan became horrifyingly clear. This wasn't about humanity specifically. It was about eliminating any example of what younger species could achieve if they refused to accept limitations. The Galactic Council was conducting a systematic purge of hope itself. "Admiral, are any of these species aware of what's coming?" Sarah asked, unknown. "Communications between non-council species have been severely restricted. For all we know, we're the first target, and the others won't learn their fate until the fleets arrive at their worlds." Sarah turned to Dr. Kim. "Change of plans. We're not just sending a message to document our history. We're sending a warning. Every targeted species needs to know what's coming. That will require even more power," Dr. Kim warned. "We'll need to boost the signal strength significantly to reach civilizations that far out on the galactic rim." "Then we boost it. How long?" 20 minutes minimum." Sarah looked at the tactical display. The alien weapons would be fully charged in 8 minutes. They needed more time, and there was only one way to get it. "Rodriguez, status on our remaining defensive platforms?" 12 orbital stations still operational, plus the lunar defense grid. All are reporting full ammunition stores and willing crews. Sarah activated the fleet-wide communication channel. Every human ship, station, and defensive platform in the solar system would hear her next words. "All units, this is Commander Chen. We have new intelligence that changes everything. The aliens aren't just destroying us. They're planning to eliminate 14 other young civilizations, to prevent them from inspiring hope in the galaxy." Angry voices erupted from speakers across the bridge as humanity's defenders learned the truth. Sarah waited for the initial outrage to die down before continuing. "We have a quantum beacon that can warn these civilizations, but we need 20 minutes to charge it properly. The alien planet crackers will be ready in 8 minutes." The communication channel fell silent as every human in the solar system absorbed the implications. They were being asked to buy time with their lives, not just for Earth, but for species they had never met. All units respond. "Are you willing to engage the alien fleet directly to protect the beacon transmission?" The responses came immediately, overlapping in their eagerness. Every platform commander, every ship captain, every defense station operator volunteered without hesitation. They understood that their sacrifice might save billions of lives across the galaxy. "Very well," Sarah said, her voice thick with emotion. "All units execute Operation Last Stand. Protect the beacon at all costs." Through the viewports, Sarah watched as humanity's remaining forces broke their defensive positions and accelerated toward the alien fleet. It was a hopeless gesture by any tactical measure. 12 orbital platforms and a few dozen ships against 1,000 alien vessels. But sometimes the tactical situation was less important than the moral one. The first exchange of fire lit up the space around Earth like a deadly fireworks display. Human weapons, designed for precision and efficiency, struck at the alien formation with desperate fury. Several alien ships exploded, their crews caught off guard by the sudden aggression. But the aliens quickly adapted, turning their superior numbers against the human attackers. One by one, the orbital platforms died in brilliant explosions. The small human ships danced through the alien formation, their pilots performing impossible maneuvers to stay alive just a few seconds longer. "Beacon charging at 60%, Dr. Kim announced. 10 minutes to full power." On the tactical display, Sarah watched humanity's last fleet sacrifice itself to buy those precious minutes. Each explosion represented dozens of lives lost, but each second gained brought them closer to warning the other civilizations. The lunar defense grid opened fire, its massive cannons reaching across space to strike at the alien planet crackers. For a moment, it seemed like the lunar weapons might actually damage the alien superweapons. Then the alien fleet turned its full attention to the moon. The massive construction facility hidden within the Kepler Nebula hummed with activity as ships from a dozen civilizations worked together on humanity's final gift to the galaxy. Dr. Elena Vasquez floated in the zero-gravity command center, watching as Vorth mechanical engineers directed the installation of weapon systems designed by Karani theorists, powered by technology that had been purely theoretical when Earth still existed. "Final assembly completion in 18 hours, reported Chief Engineer Korax, his mechanical form interfacing directly with the construction network. "The Titan-class vessels will be ready for deployment." Elena nodded, though her expression remained troubled. The ships taking shape in the nebula were marvels of combined engineering. Massive vessels that incorporated the best technologies from every rebel civilization. But intelligence reports suggested the Council was preparing something even more devastating in response. Dr. Vasquez called Captain Thiss from the communication station, her melodic voice carrying urgency. Incoming priority transmission from our intelligence network. The holographic display activated, showing the face of Agent Zen, a shadow dweller who had rejoined the rebellion after months of apparent neutrality. His energy-based form flickered with agitation as he spoke. The Council has authorized deployment of the Void Fleet, he reported without preamble. 12 ships powered by dark matter manipulation, each capable of destroying entire star systems. The command center fell silent. Even the Vorth engineers paused their work as the implications became clear. The rebellion had been successful because they avoided direct confrontation with the Council's superior numbers. But weapons that could destroy star systems made conventional tactics irrelevant. How long until deployment? Elena asked. The Void Fleet is already moving toward the Kepler Nebula. They know about our construction facility. Estimated arrival in 36 hours. Elena felt the familiar weight of impossible decisions. They could evacuate the nebula, abandoning months of work and the galaxy's best hope for matching Council firepower, or they could stay and fight with incomplete ships against weapons that defied all known defensive measures. There is another option, interrupted a new voice. Dr. Marcus Webb, one of the human survivors, had been working with Karani scientists on theoretical physics applications. His appearance at the command briefing suggested he had been developing something significant. The Karani have made a breakthrough in quantum field manipulation, Webb announced. We can't stop the Void Fleet's weapons, but we might be able to redirect them. Chief Engineer Korax's sensors focused on Webb with mechanical precision. Explain the theoretical framework. Dark matter weapons require dimensional anchors to maintain coherence across interstellar distances, Webb continued, activating his own holographic display. The Karani discovered that quantum interference at specific frequencies can disrupt those anchors. Dr. Thiss, the lead Karani scientist, took over the explanation. In simple terms, we can cause the Void Fleet's weapons to fire randomly instead of at their intended targets. But the energy requirements are enormous. Elena studied the technical specifications. The quantum interference generators would require more power than most planets produced. What's the power source? The construction facility itself, Webb replied grimly. We'd have to convert the entire nebula operation into a massive quantum weapon. One-time use only, and it would destroy everything we've built here. The choice was brutal in its simplicity. Sacrifice months of work and their best chance at matching Council technology. Or watch the Void Fleet systematically destroy every rebel stronghold in the galaxy. There's something else. Agent Zen continued from his hidden location. Council intelligence has identified the locations of most rebel settlements. If the Void Fleet succeeds here, they plan to eliminate every civilian population that has supported the rebellion. The stakes became clear. This wasn't just about military victory anymore. It was about preventing genocide on a galactic scale. How many people are we talking about? Elena asked quietly. Approximately 4 billion refugees across 200 hidden settlements, Thiss replied. Every family that fled their homeworld rather than submit to Council rule. Elena closed her eyes thinking of Commander Sarah Chen and the choice she had faced in Earth's final moments. Sometimes the only victory possible was denying the enemy what they wanted most. Begin conversion of the facility, she ordered. We'll make our stand here. The next 18 hours transformed the construction facility into something unprecedented in galactic history. Massive ship hulls were converted into quantum field generators. Power cores designed to run cities were networked into a single, impossibly powerful array. The accumulated knowledge of 12 civilizations was focused on a single goal: turning the galaxy's most advanced weapons against their creators. As the Void Fleet approached the nebula's edge, Elena stood in what had once been a construction bay, now converted into the primary control center for humanity's final gamble. Around her, representatives from every rebel civilization worked frantically to complete the weapon that might save their species. Void Fleet entering sensor range, reported the Storm Rider tactical officer. 12 vessels in formation exactly as predicted. Through the viewports, Elena could see the approaching ships. They were beautiful in their alien menace, sleek forms that seemed to bend space around them. Each one carried enough firepower to crack a planet, and they moved with the confidence of predators. Approaching helpless prey. Quantum field generators. At 90% power, announced Dr. Thiss. The interference pattern is stable. Communications from the Void Fleet, reported the communications officer. Elena nodded. Put it through. High Commander Zakth appeared on the main display, his insectoid features twisted with what might have been regret. Dr. Vasquez, you have fought well, but this ends now. Surrender your forces and we will grant mercy to your civilian populations. Define mercy, Elena replied coldly. Relocation to designated worlds under Council supervision. Your species will survive, though under controlled circumstances. Elena almost laughed. After everything that had happened, the Council still thought this was about territorial disputes or political autonomy. They had never understood that some things were worth dying for. Counter-proposal, she said. You withdraw from all systems inhabited by free civilizations, and we won't demonstrate what happens when younger species stop playing by your rules. Zakth's mandibles clicked with what might have been amusement. You threaten us? With what weapons? With the one you gave us, Elena replied. Your own. She nodded to Dr. Thiss, who activated the quantum interference generators. Space around the nebula shimmered as impossible energies twisted reality itself. The Void Fleet's formation wavered as their weapon systems suddenly lost coherence with their targeting computers. What are you doing? Zakth demanded. Teaching you the lesson humanity learned 2 centuries ago, Elena said. When someone has bigger guns, you don't try to build bigger guns. You make their guns useless. The first void ship fired, its dark matter weapon lance streaking toward the nebula. But instead of striking the construction facility, the beam curved impossibly, redirecting toward another member of the Void Fleet. The targeted ship's shields collapsed under its own weapon technology, and the massive vessel exploded in a brief star. Chaos erupted as the remaining void ships found their weapons turned against each other. Dark matter beams curved and twisted through space, seeking targets among the fleet that had fired them. Within minutes, half the Void Fleet had destroyed itself with its own weapons. Impossible, Zakth shouted. Those weapons cannot be redirected. Your species ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years, Elena replied as another void ship vanished in nuclear fire. You got complacent. You stopped innovating. You stopped adapting. The quantum interference field collapsed as its generators overloaded from the massive energy expenditure, but the damage was done. Only 3 void ships remained operational, and their crews were too terrified to fire their weapons. Elena felt the construction facility shuddering around her as the power overload began cascading through the structure. They had perhaps minutes before the entire nebula facility destroyed itself from the quantum backlash. This is Dr. Elena Vasquez to all rebel forces, she announced on the galaxy-wide communication network. The Void Fleet has been neutralized. The Council's ultimate weapons have been turned against them. The galaxy has seen that even their most advanced technology can be defeated by species willing to think beyond conventional warfare. Around the galaxy, rebel cells received the transmission with jubilation. More importantly, the demonstration had been broadcast to every major civilization. The Council's image of invincibility had been shattered forever. You have doomed the galaxy to chaos, Zakth said, his voice carrying the weight of defeat. No, Elena replied as alarms wailed throughout the dying facility. We've given it the chance to choose its own destiny. The Kepler Nebula erupted in a quantum explosion visible from 3 star systems as the construction facility tore itself apart. But the message had been sent, and this time it was not a warning of incoming destruction. It was a declaration that the age of galactic tyranny was ending. 3 months after Earth's destruction, the first meeting of the Coalition of Free Worlds convened in the hidden asteroid fields of the Karani system. Representatives from 12 civilizations gathered in a hollowed-out asteroid, their ships hidden among countless rocks and ice chunks that would mask their energy signatures from Galactic Council sensors. Ambassador Thiss of the Karani delegation activated the central holographic display, showing the faces of leaders who would have never spoken to each other under normal circumstances. The tentacled scholars of Karen sat beside the mechanical forms of the Vorth engineers. The crystalline shards shared space with the gaseous nebula dancers, while the insectoid hive queens communicated through rapid clicking sounds that the universal translators struggled to interpret. We gather here because of humanity's warning, Thiss began, her melodic voice carrying the weight of desperation. 3 of our worlds have already fallen. The Galactic Council moves faster than we anticipated. The holographic display shifted to show recent battle footage. The peaceful melody singers had been the first target after Earth. Their crystalline cities had been reduced to singing glass fragments floating in space, their harmonic communications silenced forever. The second target, the aquatic depth dwellers, had seen their ocean worlds boiled away to nothing. Most recently, the nomadic Star Wanderers had watched their entire fleet destroyed while desperately trying to evacuate their mobile cities. Each attack follows the same pattern, reported General Korthak of the Vorth Military Collective. His mechanical voice carried no emotion, but his sensor arrays glowed red with what his species considered anger. Overwhelming force, complete destruction, no survivors allowed to escape. They are not conquering us. They are erasing us. The Hive Queen of the Zatari clicked rapidly, her translator announcing, "The Queen acknowledges the tactical superiority of the enemy. However, she notes that the human warning included detailed analysis of alien weaknesses. We must study these files more carefully." Ambassador Thess gestured and the display switched to humanity's final transmission. Commander Sarachen's face appeared, forever frozen in the moment before Earth died. Her words had been analyzed by the galaxy's best minds for weeks, searching for any advantage in the coming war. Humanity fought alone because they had no warning. This continued. We have 3 advantages they did not possess. First, we know the attacks are coming. Second, we have detailed intelligence about enemy capabilities. Third, we are not alone. The representative from the Shadow Realm, a being of pure energy that barely registered on most sensors, pulsed with communication through quantum fluctuations. The Shadow Dwellers questioned the value of unity against such overwhelming odds. Perhaps survival lies in hiding, not fighting. The humans tried hiding their beacon transmission, replied Captain Vess of the Storm Riders, her people known for their aggressive nature. The aliens still detected it and tried to stop it. There is no hiding from an enemy that controls the galaxy's communication networks. The debate continued for hours, with each civilization presenting their analysis of the situation. The mathematical precision of the Vorth calculations painted a grim picture of their chances. The Qurani scholars had studied every historical precedent for galactic rebellions. The Storm Riders had analyzed the tactical possibilities from a purely military perspective. All the data pointed to the same conclusion. Individually, each civilization was doomed. Even together, their combined forces represented less than 5% of the Galactic Council's military might. There is one factor the data does not account for, interrupted an unexpected voice. The display flickered and a new figure appeared. It was Dr. Elena Vasquez, formerly of the human colony ship Endurance, speaking from a hidden location somewhere in interstellar space. The representative stared in shock. According to all reports, humanity had been completely exterminated. No human ships had escaped the solar system before its destruction. Dr. Vasquez, breathed Ambassador Thess. How did you survive? 43 human ships were in deep space when Earth fell. Elena explained, her face haggard but determined. Colony ships, research vessels, long-range scouts. About 12,000 humans total. We've been monitoring your communications and analyzing the situation. General Korthak's sensors focused on the transmission source. The probability of human survival was calculated at 0.03%. How did your ships avoid detection? Elena's smile was grim. Humanity had 2 centuries to learn paranoia from dealing with galactic politics. Every deep space mission carried stealth technology and emergency protocols for exactly this situation. When Earth's beacon fired, it included specific rendezvous coordinates for any surviving human vessels. The implications of her words sent ripples of excitement through the assembled representatives. Humanity's tactical knowledge, their experience with asymmetric warfare, their desperate creativity born from being the galaxy's newest arrivals. All of it had survived Earth's destruction. What do you propose? Asked the Hive Queen, her clicking taking on an urgent rhythm. Humanity's final analysis included something the Galactic Council doesn't expect. Elena continued. They've ruled through overwhelming force and political manipulation for 1,000 years. They've never faced a true guerrilla war across multiple star systems simultaneously. She activated her own holographic display, showing star charts with complex movement patterns. The Council's strength comes from centralized command and massive fleet concentrations. But those same advantages become weaknesses when the enemy refuses to fight conventional battles. Captain Vess leaned forward, her warrior instincts engaged. Explain. Hit-and-run attacks on supply convoys, sabotage of communication relays, raids on isolated council installations, force them to spread their fleets across hundreds of systems trying to protect everything at once. The Vorth General's processors whirred as he calculated the possibilities. Such tactics require extensive coordination and precise timing. The logistics alone would be staggering, which is why we need every civilization working together, Elena replied. Each species contributes their unique capabilities. Kerani scholars for intelligence gathering and code breaking, Vorth engineers for ship modifications and manufacturing, storm riders for assault operations, shadow dwellers for stealth insertions. Ambassador Theiss felt something she hadn't experienced since receiving humanity's warning. Hope. Not the desperate hope of the doomed, but the calculating hope of those who had found a path to victory. The Council will retaliate against our homeworlds, warned the representative from the Crystal Consortium, her faceted form refracting light in patterns of concern. They're going to destroy our worlds anyway, Elena pointed out bluntly. The only question is whether we die on our knees or standing up. The silence that followed was filled with the weight of decision. Each representative knew they were choosing not just their own fate, but the destiny of their entire species. The Hive Queen spoke first. Her clicking translated as, "The Queen commits the Zitari fleets to this alliance. We choose the path of resistance." One by one, the other civilizations added their voices to the growing chorus of defiance. The mechanical Vorth pledged their manufacturing capabilities. The scholarly Kerani offered their analytical skills. The warlike storm riders promised their combat expertise. When the votes were counted, 11 of the 12 civilizations had chosen to fight. Only the shadow dwellers abstained, vanishing from the communication without explanation. "Very well," said Ambassador Theiss, her voice carrying new authority. "The Coalition of Free Worlds is officially formed. Our first objective is to establish secure communication networks independent of Council control. Our second is to begin immediate harassment operations against Council supply lines." Elena nodded approvingly. "I'll transmit the detailed tactical plans humanity developed during our 2 centuries of military evolution. But remember, this war won't be won by superior firepower. It will be won by superior will." The holographic conference dissolved as each representative returned to their ships, carrying word of the new alliance to their home governments. Across the galaxy, the largest rebellion in galactic history was about to begin. The Galactic Council had destroyed Earth to send a message about the price of defiance. Instead, they had created the very uprising they sought to prevent. And this time, the young civilizations would not fight alone. 6 months into the rebellion, High Commander Zakth stood before the Emergency Council Assembly, his mandibles clicking with barely controlled rage. The holographic chamber contained the most powerful beings in the galaxy, each representing civilizations that had ruled for millennia. Their collective displeasure was palpable. "Explain to us again how 12 primitive species have managed to disrupt our supply lines across 47 star systems," demanded Overlord Vaxhun of the Dominion fleet, his crystalline form pulsing with angry light. Zakth activated the tactical display, showing the galaxy-wide map that had become his obsession. Red markers indicated successful rebel attacks, and there were hundreds of them. "The enemy has adopted tactics we have never encountered. They refuse to defend fixed positions or engage our main fleets. Cowardice," spat Admiral Threx of the Iron Legions, her mechanical form clanking with dismissal. "Send overwhelming force to their homeworlds and be done with it." "We tried that approach," Zakth replied grimly. 3 weeks ago we dispatched Battle Group 7 to crush the Kerani homeworld. When they arrived, the planet was evacuated. The enemy had anticipated our attack and withdrew their entire population to hidden facilities. The display shifted to show Battle Group 7's humiliating return. The massive fleet had found nothing but empty cities and automated defenses that had inflicted embarrassing casualties before self-destructing. "Where are their populations hiding?" asked Counselor Yith, her gaseous form swirling with concern. "Unknown. Our intelligence suggests they are using mobile colonies hidden throughout asteroid fields, nebulae, and interstellar space. The humans somehow taught them advanced stealth technology in just 6 months." Elder Zephys of the Ancient Order, the oldest being in the council, spoke with the weight of 10,000 years. "We have faced rebellions before. Overwhelming force has always succeeded. This is different, Zacht insisted. They learned from humanity's sacrifice. Watch this. The display changed to show recent battle footage. A council convoy of 50 ships had been moving through what should have been secure space when it was ambushed by a mixed force of rebel vessels. But instead of the desperate courage that had characterized previous rebellions, this attack demonstrated cold, calculating precision. Karani stealth ships had disabled the convoy's communication systems in the opening seconds. Vorth modified. Vessels had struck the escort ships with weapons upgraded beyond their original specifications. Stormrider assault craft had boarded the supply ships, stolen their cargo, and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. Total casualties: 3 cargo vessels captured, 7 escort ships destroyed, 0 rebel losses, Zacht reported. They completed the operation in 11 minutes and disappeared before our response fleet could reach the area. Overlord Vaxhun's crystalline form darkened. 11 minutes? Our response protocols require a minimum of 15 minutes for fleet deployment. They know our procedures, Zacht confirmed. Somehow they have obtained detailed intelligence about our military protocols, supply schedules, and fleet movements. The uncomfortable truth was that the rebels seemed to know the Council's military capabilities better than many Council members themselves. Every attack exploited weaknesses that had been considered theoretical until now. "What about our network of informants among the younger species?" asked Admiral Threx. "Compromised or eliminated. The rebels identified our intelligence assets within the first month and either killed them or fed them false information. We are operating blind while they seem to see everything." The chamber fell silent as the Council members absorbed the implications. For 1,000 years, their dominance had been built on superior technology, overwhelming numbers, and detailed intelligence about potential threats. The rebels had found ways to neutralize all 3 advantages. "What do you recommend?" Elder Zephys asked eventually. Zacht hesitated. The answer he had to give would be seen as weakness, but there was no other choice. "We need to negotiate." The explosion of outrage from the assembled council members was immediate and deafening. Accusations of cowardice, incompetence, and treason filled the chamber. It took several minutes for order to be restored. "You suggest we negotiate with insects?" Overlord Vaxhun demanded. "I suggest we acknowledge reality," Zacht replied. "In 6 months, they have cost us more ships than we lost in the last century of border conflicts. Our trade routes are disrupted, our military is stretched across the galaxy, and our subject species are beginning to question our authority." That last point was perhaps the most dangerous. The rebellion's early successes had not gone unnoticed by the galaxy's established civilizations. Several species that had served the Council faithfully for centuries were now requesting defensive consultations with rebel representatives. "Furthermore," Zacht continued, "our intelligence suggests they are developing new technologies at an unprecedented rate. Vorth engineering capabilities combined with Karani theoretical knowledge and human tactical innovation is producing weapons and ships we have never seen before." The display showed captured images of rebel vessels that defied easy classification. Ships that seemed to phase in and out of normal space, weapons that could penetrate council shields, and fighter craft that moved with impossible agility. "Impossible," Admiral Threx stated flatly. "Those species lack the industrial capacity for such developments. They did 6 months ago. But they have been sharing resources and knowledge across species lines. The humans apparently included detailed manufacturing processes in their final transmission. The rebels now have access to techniques that took us millennia to develop." Elder Zephys leaned forward, her ancient voice carrying new concern. "You believe they could actually threaten our core worlds?" Zacht nodded grimly. "Yesterday, our listening post detected a massive energy signature from the Kepler Nebula. Analysis suggests they are constructing something enormous, possibly a mobile shipyard capable of producing vessels larger than our current dreadnoughts." The implications were staggering. If the rebels could match Council industrial capacity while maintaining their tactical advantages, the balance of power in the galaxy would shift fundamentally. "What terms would you propose for negotiation?" Councillor Yeath asked reluctantly. "Autonomous zones for the rebel species. Limited self-governance in exchange for cessation of hostile activities." "Unacceptable," Overlord Vaxhun declared immediately. Grant them autonomy and every subject species will demand the same. Our entire civilization would collapse. The alternative may be worse, Zakth warned. If they continue developing new technologies and recruiting new species to their cause, we could face a general uprising across the entire galaxy. The debate raged for hours, with some council members advocating for even more extreme measures: planetary bombardments, biological warfare, the deployment of weapons banned for millennia. Others supported negotiation, recognizing that their traditional methods were failing. Finally, Elder Zephys called for order. We will not negotiate with rebels, she announced with finality. However, we will modify our approach. High Commander Zakth, you are authorized to deploy the Void Fleet. A shocked silence fell over the chamber. The Void Fleet represented the Council's ultimate weapon, ships powered by dark matter manipulation, capable of destroying entire star systems. They had been held in reserve for over 1,000 years, never used because their deployment would fundamentally alter the nature of galactic warfare. Elder, Zakth said carefully, the Void Fleet has never been tested in actual combat. The theoretical capabilities are no longer theoretical, Elder Zephys interrupted. If the rebels wish to change the rules of warfare, we will show them the consequences of their choice. Zakth bowed his head in acknowledgement, though privately he wondered if deploying such weapons would solve their problems or simply create new ones. The rebels had proven remarkably adaptable to every challenge so far. As the council session ended, Zakth found himself thinking about Commander Sarachen's final words. The human had warned that the council's greatest weakness was their inability to adapt, their reliance on old methods for new problems. Looking at the authorization for the Void Fleet deployment, he realized that once again, the council was responding to innovation with overwhelming force. It was exactly what the humans would have expected them to do. For the first time since the rebellion began, Zakth wondered if they were walking into another trap. 3 months after Earth's destruction, the first meeting of the Coalition of Free Worlds convened in the hidden asteroid fields of the Karani system. Representatives from 12 civilizations gathered in a hollowed-out asteroid, their ships hidden among countless rocks and ice chunks that would mask their energy signatures from Galactic Council sensors. Ambassador Thys of the Karani delegation activated the central holographic display, showing the faces of leaders who would have never spoken to each other under normal circumstances. The tentacled scholars of Karen sat beside the mechanical forms of the Vorth engineers. The crystalline shards shared space with the gaseous nebula dancers, while the insectoid hive queens communicated through rapid clicking sounds that the universal translators struggled to interpret. We gather here because of humanity's warning, Thys began, her melodic voice carrying the weight of desperation. 3 of our worlds have already fallen. The Galactic Council moves faster than we anticipated. The holographic display shifted to show recent battle footage. The peaceful melody singers had been the first target after Earth. Their crystalline cities had been reduced to singing glass fragments floating in space, their harmonic communications silenced forever. The second target, the aquatic depth dwellers, had seen their ocean worlds boiled away to nothing. Most recently, the nomadic star wanderers had watched their entire fleet destroyed while desperately trying to evacuate their mobile cities. Each attack follows the same pattern, reported General Korthak of the Vorth Military Collective. His mechanical voice carried no emotion, but his sensor arrays glowed red with what his species considered anger. Overwhelming force, complete destruction, no survivors allowed to escape. They are not conquering us. They are erasing us. The Hive Queen of the Zatari clicked rapidly, her translator announcing, "The Queen acknowledges the tactical superiority of the enemy. However, she notes that the human warning included detailed analysis of alien weaknesses. We must study these files more carefully." Ambassador Thys gestured and the display switched to humanity's final transmission. Commander Sarachen's face appeared, forever frozen in the moment before Earth died. Her words had been analyzed by the galaxy's best minds for weeks, searching for any advantage in the coming war. Humanity fought alone because they had no warning. Thys continued. We have 3 advantages they did not possess. First, we know the attacks are coming. Second, we have detailed intelligence about enemy capabilities. Third, we are not alone. The representative from the shadow realm, a being of pure energy that barely registered on most sensors, pulsed with communication through quantum fluctuations. The shadow dwellers questioned the value of unity against such overwhelming odds. Perhaps survival lies in hiding, not fighting. The humans tried hiding their beacon transmission, replied Captain Vess of the Storm Riders, her people known for their aggressive nature. The aliens still detected it and tried to stop it. There is no hiding from an enemy that controls the galaxy's communication networks. The debate continued for hours, with each civilization presenting their analysis of the situation. The mathematical precision of the Vorth calculations painted a grim picture of their chances. The Qurani scholars had studied every historical precedent for galactic rebellions. The Storm Riders had analyzed the tactical possibilities from a purely military perspective. All the data pointed to the same conclusion. Individually, each civilization was doomed. Even together, their combined forces represented less than 5% of the Galactic Council's military might. There is one factor the data does not account for, interrupted an unexpected voice. The display flickered and a new figure appeared. It was Dr. Elena Vasquez, formerly of the human colony ship Endurance, speaking from a hidden location somewhere in interstellar space. The representative stared in shock. According to all reports, humanity had been completely exterminated. No human ships had escaped the solar system before its destruction. Dr. Vasquez, breathed Ambassador Thiss. How did you survive? 43 human ships were in deep space when Earth fell. Elena explained, her face haggard but determined. Colony ships, research vessels, long-range scouts. About 12,000 humans total. We've been monitoring your communications and analyzing the situation. General Korthak's sensors focused on the transmission source. The probability of human survival was calculated at 0.03%. How did your ships avoid detection? Elena's smile was grim. Humanity had 2 centuries to learn paranoia from dealing with galactic politics. Every deep space mission carried stealth technology and emergency protocols for exactly this situation. When Earth's beacon fired, it included specific rendezvous coordinates for any surviving human vessels. The implications of her words sent ripples of excitement through the assembled representatives. Humanity's tactical knowledge, their experience with asymmetric warfare, their desperate creativity born from being the galaxy's newest arrivals. All of it had survived Earth's destruction. What do you propose? Asked the Hive Queen, her clicking taking on an urgent rhythm. Humanity's final analysis included something the Galactic Council doesn't expect. Elena continued. They've ruled through overwhelming force and political manipulation for 1,000 years. They've never faced a true guerrilla war across multiple star systems simultaneously. She activated her own holographic display, showing star charts with complex movement patterns. The Council's strength comes from centralized command and massive fleet concentrations. But those same advantages become weaknesses when the enemy refuses to fight conventional battles. Captain Vess leaned forward, her warrior instincts engaged. Explain. Hit-and-run attacks on supply convoys, sabotage of communication relays, raids on isolated Council installations, force them to spread their fleets across hundreds of systems trying to protect everything at once. The Vorth General's processors whirred as he calculated the possibilities. Such tactics require extensive coordination and precise timing. The logistics alone would be staggering, which is why we need every civilization working together, Elena replied. Each species contributes their unique capabilities. Qurani scholars for intelligence gathering and code breaking, Vorth engineers for ship modifications and manufacturing, Storm Riders for assault operations, Shadow Dwellers for stealth insertions. Ambassador Thiss felt something she hadn't experienced since receiving humanity's warning. Hope. Not the desperate hope of the doomed, but the calculating hope of those who had found a path to victory. The Council will retaliate against our homeworlds, warned the representative from the Crystal Consortium, her faceted form refracting light in patterns of concern. They're going to destroy our worlds anyway, Elena pointed out bluntly. The only question is whether we die on our knees or standing up. The silence that followed was filled with the weight of decision. Each representative knew they were choosing not just their own fate, but the destiny of their entire species. The Hive Queen spoke first. Her clicking translated as, "The Queen commits the Zitari fleets to this alliance. We choose the path of resistance." One by one, the other civilizations added their voices to the growing chorus of defiance. The mechanical Vorth pledged their manufacturing capabilities. The scholarly Karani offered their analytical skills. The warlike Stormriders promised their combat expertise. When the votes were counted, 11 of the 12 civilizations had chosen to fight. Only the Shadow Dwellers abstained, vanishing from the communication without explanation. "Very well," said Ambassador Thys, her voice carrying new authority. "The Coalition of Free Worlds is officially formed. Our first objective is to establish secure communication networks independent of Council control. Our second is to begin immediate harassment operations against Council supply lines." Elena nodded approvingly. "I'll transmit the detailed tactical plans humanity developed during our 2 centuries of military evolution. But remember, this war won't be won by superior firepower. It will be won by superior will." The holographic conference dissolved as each representative returned to their ships, carrying word of the new alliance to their home governments. Across the galaxy, the largest rebellion in galactic history was about to begin. The Galactic Council had destroyed Earth to send a message about the price of defiance. Instead, they had created the very uprising they sought to prevent. And this time, the young civilizations would not fight alone. 5 years after the destruction of Earth, the Galaxy Assembly convened for the first time in galactic history. The massive space station, constructed in neutral territory beyond any single civilization's control, housed representatives from over 300 species. The Great Hall buzzed with thousands of different languages, communication methods, and life forms that would never have shared the same space under the old order. Dr. Elena Vasquez, now bearing the title of Human Ambassador despite representing fewer than 10,000 survivors, walked through corridors filled with beings her species had only dreamed of meeting. The past 5 years had transformed the galaxy beyond recognition, and she still sometimes marveled at how quickly everything had changed. The rebellion's victory at Kepler Nebula had been the catalyst, but not the end. The destruction of the Void Fleet had shattered the Council's military supremacy and their image of invincibility. Within months, dozens of subject species had declared independence. The Council's response, attempting to maintain control through increasingly brutal crackdowns, had only accelerated their downfall. "Ambassador Vasquez," called a familiar voice. Elena turned to see Captain Thys, now serving as the Karani representative to the Assembly. The years had been kind to her, and her melodic voice carried new confidence born from liberation. "Captain Thys, or should I say Ambassador Thys now?" Elena replied warmly. "How are the preparations proceeding?" "Better than expected. The accords have been reviewed by every major civilization, and the preliminary votes are encouraging. It seems the galaxy is ready for a new form of governance." Elena nodded, though her expression remained cautious. The Galactic Democratic Accords represented everything the rebellion had fought for. A system of governance based on cooperation rather than domination, where every species had a voice regardless of their military power or technological advancement. They walked together toward the main assembly hall, passing observation windows that showed the construction of permanent diplomatic facilities. This space station would become the galaxy's new capital, built and maintained by voluntary contributions from member civilizations. "Any word from the former Council territories?" Elena asked. Thys's expression darkened slightly. The Dominion remnants still control about 30 systems in the galactic core. They've established a military dictatorship and refuse all diplomatic contact. High Commander Zakth has declared himself supreme leader of the true galactic order. Elena sighed. Some of the old Council species had adapted to the new reality, embracing democratic principles and finding their place in the reformed galaxy. Others, like Zakth's faction, had retreated to heavily fortified systems where they maintained the old ways through pure military force. "Are they still a threat?" Elena asked. "To local systems, yes. To galactic stability, probably not. Their territory shrinks every year as more species choose freedom over tyranny. The younger generations in their own worlds are beginning to question the old ways." They entered the vast assembly hall where hundreds of delegates were taking their seats. The chamber had been designed to accommodate every known form of sentient life. Atmospheric controls for gas-based species, liquid immersion tanks for aquatic beings, energy fields for creatures of pure thought, and gravity adjusters for species from high or low-mass worlds. At the center of the hall stood a memorial hologram showing Earth as it had existed before its destruction. The blue-green world rotated slowly, a reminder of the price that had been paid for the freedom they now enjoyed. Elder Zephys, one of the few council members to survive the transition, approached the human delegation. The ancient being had spent the last 5 years working to establish truth and reconciliation processes for the former council's crimes. Ambassador Vasquez, Zephys said, her voice carrying the weight of 10,000 years and 5 years of regret. The Assembly owes humanity a debt that can never be repaid. Elena studied the being who had once authorized the deployment of weapons capable of destroying entire civilizations. The dead can't be brought back, Elder Zephys, but the living can choose to build something better. Indeed, I wanted you to know that the final vote count has been verified. The Accords will pass by an overwhelming margin. The Galaxy Assembly will officially replace the old council system tomorrow. It was the culmination of everything they had fought for, a government based on representation rather than domination, where disputes would be resolved through negotiation rather than force, where younger species could develop their potential without fear of elimination. There is one final matter, Zephys continued. The Assembly has voted unanimously to establish a permanent memorial to Earth and humanity's sacrifice. The coordinates of your homeworld will be declared sacred space, forbidden to all military activities. Elena felt tears forming in her eyes. She thought of Commander Sarah Chen and the crew who had died to send humanity's warning across the galaxy. They would never see the peace their sacrifice had made possible, but they would not be forgotten. Thank you, Elena managed. That means more than you know. The formal session began with representatives from the founding civilizations taking their oath to uphold the principles of the new democracy. The Karani pledged their knowledge to the common good. The Vorth promised their engineering capabilities for galactic infrastructure. The Storm Riders swore to defend the weak against aggression. When Elena's turn came, she stood before the Assembly and felt the weight of representing a nearly extinct species. But she also felt the pride of knowing that humanity's final message had accomplished exactly what Sarah Chen had intended. I, Elena Vasquez, last ambassador of humanity, pledge that the memory of Earth will serve as an eternal reminder of the price of tyranny and the value of freedom, she declared. May this assembly always remember that some things are worth any sacrifice to preserve. The hall erupted in a cacophony of approval from hundreds of species, each expressing agreement in their own unique way. The vote to establish the Galaxy Assembly was confirmed by acclamation, marking the official end of the old order. Later, Elena stood alone in her quarters, looking out at the stars through the observation port. Somewhere out there, perhaps 40 light-years from this station, a cloud of cooling debris marked where Earth had once orbited its sun. She raised a glass of synthetic wine, real grapes being extinct along with their homeworld. To Commander Sarah Chen and the crew of Earth Defense Force Command, she said quietly, "You told the galaxy it had a choice. Today it chose wisely." Her communication panel chimed with incoming messages from across the galaxy. The Melody Singers, or rather the survivors who had rebuilt their civilization after the Council's attack, were composing a new harmonic symphony in honor of the Assembly's founding. The Vorth had completed construction of the first multi-species colony ships that would carry mixed populations to previously uninhabitable worlds. Young civilizations that had been marked for elimination were now sending their brightest minds to study at the new galactic university. But perhaps most importantly, Elena had received reports that several Council remnant systems were experiencing internal rebellions. The younger generation had grown up hearing stories of the Galaxy Assembly and the freedom it represented. They were no longer content to live under the tyranny their parents accepted. Elena smiled as she read the latest intelligence report. High Commander Zakth's own nephew had contacted rebel agents, offering to provide intelligence about Dominion military capabilities in exchange for asylum in Assembly territory. The galaxy was changing, and the change was accelerating. Every year brought new freedoms, new alliances, new possibilities that would have been unimaginable under the Council's rule. Elena touched the small memorial pin she wore, a simple representation of Earth as it had been. Sarah Chen had been right about humanity's choice. They had chosen to stand and fight, even knowing they would lose. But they had also chosen to ensure that their death would have meaning. Looking out at the stars, Elena could almost see the future Sarah had died to create. A galaxy where young civilizations could reach for the stars without fear, where diversity was celebrated rather than suppressed. where the strong protected the weak instead of exploiting them. It was a future worth any sacrifice to preserve. Earth's last message to the galaxy had been answered not with words but with action. The consequences the message had promised were not punishment but transformation. Humanity was gone, but their dream of galactic freedom lived on in every species that now chose cooperation over conquest, hope over fear, unity over tyranny. The galaxy had made its choice, and it chose to honor Earth's sacrifice by building something worthy of it.